Wow, that is the best trailer I've ever seen for a game. This looks so awesome and it's coming out this year. Delayed? You mean I've got to wait until the first quarter of next year to play it? But that's ages away. Now this is just taking the piss. If the game wasn't ready, why the hell was it announced?
Reasons to be cheerful.
A delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. This quote, attributed to a certain Shigeru Miyamoto and rolled out whenever a massively hyped game is delayed, has a certain sense of truth to it. At the time, he was referring to the delay of the Nintendo 64 due to his team finishing work on Super Mario 64, and in that instance, that now famous quote has never been more apt. History looks upon Super Mario 64 as one of the greatest games of all time, after all. Back then, games coverage was just a little less concerned with the business details and release schedules. In fact, this was around the time where we actually started to get release schedules for games, rather than just them appearing on store shelves when they were actually ready. Now compare that to today, where every few weeks there is some sort of report on a particular AAA game being delayed, and it's only natural to feel a little bit of disappointment if the release in question is one you've actually been excited for. I think we live in a time where delays are now an inevitability. As I've said before in this video series, game development is becoming more and more complex and resource hungry, with more people involved, and the amount of time, money and effort it takes to get a game on store shelves is always growing. A couple of episodes ago I talked about the patch culture of video games, and it seems that more and more games are released with minor bugs in mind. Sure, you could delay a game and fix those bugs first, but that could cost the publisher or developer a lot of money. And in fact, delaying a game for any reason is costly and only used as a last resort. But bugs aren't the only reason to push a release date backwards. It could be an issue with marketing, a change in artistic direction, mechanics might not feel quite right, any reason really. And it's the nature of working on a big project to expect a delay here and there, and video games are no different. Now Miyamoto's quote doesn't necessarily apply to all games. While Super Mario 64 is a shining example of a video game that's been delayed, one only needs to look at a game such as Duke Nukem Forever to see how delaying a game can ultimately do massive damage to its reputation. Here was a game that had been delayed multiple times over almost a decade and a half of development, not only becoming the laughingstock of the industry, but by the time it came out, well, public perception of the game itself was negative, even before anybody picked up a controller and played it. Ultimately, it arguably killed Duke Nukem as a franchise. But that was one of the very few exceptions to Miyamoto's rule, and I can count so many games that ended up being better after experiencing delays. Take Miyamoto's own games, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess. These were all games that were massively delayed and came out as phenomenal releases. Half-Life 2, Bioshock and even the original Halo also suffered massive setbacks in development, and no one can deny the quality of any of those games. Now take a look at all of those games and you have your justifications for how delaying a game can make it a better product. It's all too easy to be outraged and upset when this happens, but really, shouldn't we just be praising companies for making that tough decision to sacrifice resources to make a better product in the end? Now given the choice between a heavily buggy or bare bones game or a delayed one, wouldn't you prefer a delayed but finished experience? I mean, look at the backlash over the lack of content in the recently released Street Fighter V. Wouldn't it have been better for that game to have been released with all the modes that we expect from a modern fighting game? Of course, the almost cast iron way to avoid all of these issues is for a game not to be announced until it's absolutely definitively coming out when expected. But then you're missing out on the fun and the excitement of seeing the announcement trailer, being drip-fed information, reading websites and magazine previews and waiting with anticipation for the day you can take that game home. We should see delays as a good thing. For the most part, it's a sign that we'll end up with a better game. And shouldn't we be happy about that? This was another reason to be cheerful. Now if you have a controversial topic that you'd like me to put a positive spin on, please let me know in the comments. You can see more videos from me and my colleagues at God is a Gig by of course subscribing, so why not press that lovely red button right now. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, keep gaming positive.
Should have backed the guy who's a gig patron.